Hello! Today we're going to talk about canning. I'm going to show you everything you need and tell you everything you need to know to successfully can all of your spreadables, jellies, jams, sauces, and everything right from the comfort of your own home. So, before we start canning, there's a few things you're going to need. You're going to need a jar grabber like this, a jar funnel, looks like this. Both of these items, as well as jars and labels, you can get at your local grocery store, even Walmart. Sometimes Michaels sells them, and during the holidays, Costco sells the items as well. A ladle for whatever spreadable you're making and what canning, a butter knife, and of course, your jars themselves. Size on jar will depend on what you're making, who you're giving it to, that kind of thing. But there are two really common sizes, which is your 4-ounce jelly and jam jar, and then your 8-ounce jar. I use these most often because the amounts are perfect depending on how many people are in the household that is going to purchase it, or perhaps that you're giving it to as a gift. These are shelf stable for a year and a half once you can them. However, once you open them, just like a product that you would get at the grocery store, they do need to be refrigerated. And so you want to make sure that they will be able to be eaten and enjoyed in about a month and a half or 2 months tops before they start to go bad. So just picking the appropriate size based off of what you're making is what's really important. So let's talk about canning. You don't have to be Martha Stewart to be able to do this. It is something you can definitely do at home. Like I showed you, you don't really need a lot of different things to do it, and it's not very expensive. But it's a great way to preserve fruit, vegetables from the summer or the winter and enjoy them the other half of the year. So I love making raspberry jam, and I'll do that when the raspberries are really ripe and delicious in like May and June and into July. And then I have fresh raspberry jam I can open in February that is excellent and homemade, and enjoy what was fresh then that's still fresh now because we canned it. So a couple of things to know about canning. Your jars are going to come looking like this. There are actually 3 pieces to the jar itself. You'll have the rim, the flat top lid, and then the actual jar. These 2 items you're going to want to put in a stock pot, heavy bottomed if you have one, that is full with boiling water. And that's where your jar lifters will start to come in handy. And you want to just sterilize these. Once you have them sterilized, take them out, flip them upside down on some paper towels on your counter, and let them dry and kind of cool down and come back to room temperature. This is really important for 2 reasons. Obviously, sterilizing it gets off all the dust and residue that could have occurred during packing, which makes it a cleaner product to put your food in, which is of course safer. But also, this helps to keep the glass at a warmer temperature. So because we've put it in the pot and heated it, brought it up to temperature, you're going to put a hot preserves or jelly or jam or sauce into there, and then you're going to put it into a hot pot. If you go from cold glass to hot liquid to boiling water, there's a greater chance that your jar could actually split and crack, which could affect anything else that you're canning in that water, and of course, glass and product is all lost. So it's just really good to do. It only takes a couple of minutes. I do that about an hour before I'm going to be ready to can whatever it is, so that the jars are still slightly warm when I go to use them. So when you're ready to can, you have your preserves or what have you on the stove, or your sauce, it's ready to go. You just want to take your jar funnel, and you'll notice that these funnels are wider than your average kitchen funnel. They are made purposely to sit perfectly inside the mouth of a jar like this. Most jars have the same mouth size and then just get larger as they go down. So this is really versatile and should fit a lot of different jars that you're going to can with. You can still use it on bigger jars where it doesn't fit quite so tight, but the tighter the fit, the better the seal. So I'd recommend that. And then you're just going to ladle in whatever it is you're making. You want to fill it right to the second rim. There are like 2 rims here. To the second rim, that when you pull out your funnel, you have 1/4 to 1/2 inch of space at the top. This space is really important. If you fill it all the way to the top and put your lid down and it's kind of coming out over the sides, you're not going to be able to create a clean, tight vacuum and seal, which is what makes the product safe to sit on the shelf for a year or a year and a half. If you don't leave that room, you won't get that seal that you hear when you open even stores. When you buy a jar from a store and you open it and you hear that pop, that's the air vacuum release from what we do, which is canning. So you want to make sure that you leave enough space. You also want to make sure that the rim of your jar is clean. Any residue on there could stop the sealing process here from getting a nice tight seal. So just make sure it's clean. The funnel helps a ton with that. You'll place your lid on top and then your rim, and you want to turn it as tight as you can because you don't want any water to get into the product and actually affect that itself. Then you'll sit this down in the bottom of your stock pot and you'll let that boil, rolling boil for 10 to 15 minutes, but please do check the recipe. If you're canning it, it tells you how long. You definitely want to follow whatever it is that they're suggesting. Now, as far as the pot goes, you will see in some of the stores as well as online, there are canning liners, which actually sit inside the pot and cradle each individual jar and hold them just above the surface of the pot, which lets them be completely surrounded by water. That is wonderful. If you want to buy that, please feel free. However, you don't have to. I don't can with one, and I have been canning successfully for well over 2 years now. They can sit right on the bottom of the pot. However, I would caution you not to crowd the pot. Only put a few in at a time. You can have multiple pots going if you want. That way the water is getting all the way around it, and you want to have at least an inch of water over top of the can itself. That way it's completely surrounded. This is going to be a nice even way to bring it all up and to create that suction. After that 10-15 minute period, you'll use your jar grabbers, pull them out of your pot, and I just set them on my kitchen counter on a paper towel and let them start to cool down. Now, cooling down will take hours, obviously, as everything about this was hot when you put it in. But as it starts to cool down, that's when the actual canning will start. You'll start to hear those pops, which is the suction from the vacuum you've created, pulling it in and making a tight seal against the product that you have inside. So you want to hear one pop for every jar that you've put in. That ensures that when someone goes to open it, they twist this, they take it off, that this will be tight, and they'll hear that pop when they pull it off, just like you do from the store. After that, the only thing left to do is label. Labels can be found also at your grocery store. You can get them online. They're really easy. I use easy dissolve labels, so when someone's finished with the jar, you can just soak it in hot water for 5 minutes and this should come right off. Then that person or you yourself are able to reuse the jar and just purchase a new lid insert, which is really nice. Plus, it lets you label them. You can put the date on it so everyone knows how safe it is. One issue that some people come across while they're canning is noticing that they have air bubbles. Air bubbles happen naturally when you fill any kind of liquid into a jar. But with canning, it's important that you take a butter knife and run around the edge of the jar to try to get out any of those air bubbles. I'm sure you can't see it in this one, but there aren't any in this one. Now, air bubbles are natural, but we want to try to avoid as many of them as possible because air bubbles are pockets that just create room for bacteria to grow. So we want to make sure that it's packed nice and solid so that when we get that vacuum seal, everything is perfect and wonderful. Canning is really fun and relaxing. It just takes a little bit of attention to detail and some time. So pick a lazy Sunday, throw on some football or a movie, get in the kitchen and just really enjoy anything that you want to make. Today I made apple butter in the slow cooker, which is really easy. It takes 12 to 14 hours on low, but it is a very set and forget kind of thing. I will include that recipe down below. It cans really well. I've made multiple batches this year from apples I've picked at an apple orchard, as well as some you can buy in the store as well. Apple butter, pumpkin butter. I made pineapple preserves in May. That's excellent as well. With the holiday season coming up, we're already in November here. These make great hostess gifts for Thanksgiving. They make great gifts for Christmas, for friends who are traveling. You could throw them in with some other things and make a gourmet gift basket. They ship really well. I just wrap them in a little bit of bubble wrap. I have shipped care packages to Florida, so that's perfectly fine as well. And they're a delicious homemade treat that looks gorgeous and tastes delicious, and your friends and family, co-workers, what have you, will really thank you for that. So like I said, you can can. It's very easy, and it's really satisfying once you have all of your jars complete. It's just a really great feeling. So don't be hesitant at all. If you have any questions, post those in the comments below. Also, if you haven't already, give this video a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. That way you can see all of the videos that I have, and hit that little notification bell in the corner so that as soon as I upload something new, you will get an email about it and you can be the first to see it. It is pie season, so in the next couple of videos, I'll be going over some things like basic pie crust, rolling out a pie crust, and filling that pie shell so that your holiday season can be full of delicious pies and fabulous spreadables. But until then, enjoy canning.